industrial and technological transformation. We have held extensive bilateral discussions aimed at deepening cooperation in trade and investment, particularly in manufacturing, renewable energy, pharmaceuticals, digital innovation, and agro-industrial development. Kenya is a competitive production and logistics hub for East and Central Africa, supported by special economic zones and a growing industrial base.
And on the same story, the Africa Forward Summit set to begin tomorrow with more than 3,000 delegates expected to attend is being positioned as a major platform to deepen economic and diplomatic ties between African states and their international partners. The high-level gathering is expected to focus on enhancing trade, investment, and strategic cooperation across key sectors, with participating African nations anticipating new agreements that could boost continental growth and development.
Bilateral relationship between France and Kenya and France and other African countries needs to have a unique target: preserve jobs in France as well in Kenya.
2013, we opened the Kenya office. We had 40 French companies in Kenya. Now we are talking about 140 French companies in Kenya. Out of the 800 B2B and B2G meetings that we are organizing for the French companies that are coming, and the Kenyan companies that are here, they are mostly with African countries. So you find that there's a lot of intra-African exchange that is going to take place during this particular summit.
A white paper that sort of articulates a broader vision for the continent.
All computers, all laptops, all phones have minerals that come from Africa. Yet the Africans themselves are not reaping the benefits of it. So how does technology, as we digitize, as we put in digital public infrastructure, how does that ensure that the lives are transformed here in?
And sorry, the summit is set to begin today. And moving on, in politics, DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua criticized the government for what he termed as lack of urgency in addressing the murder of Reverend Julius Ndumia, a PCA minister who was killed in cold blood at Anakuru Church. Speaking during a memorial service for the late minister at PCA Macedonia Church in Ongata Rongai, Kajiado County, the former deputy president expressed concern over what he described as increasing insecurity targeting church leaders across the country. Gachagua alleged that the government has failed to show sufficient commitment in investigating the incident and arresting those responsible, warning that such inaction could encourage further attacks on the clergy.
I have been told, I don't want to speculate, that there is a CCTV footage showing the people who killed Reverend Dumia. And the Christians in Nakuru are being intimidated to keep quiet and wait. We want to call upon the police to allow the church to release the CCTV footage so that we see what happened. We don't want cover-up. I know yesterday they said they have arrested 2 people because they know we have a funeral tomorrow. We want to ask, the residence of the Reverend Dumia was covered by CCTV. We are calling upon police in Nakuru, before we bury the Reverend Dumia tomorrow, can you release the CCTV footage so that his family and Christians and all of us can have an idea as to who killed the man of God? I want to assure our parish ministers, wherever they are, I, with other leaders who work with me, will fight so that you are assured of your security, so that you don't serve in fear, so that your families do not live in fear and anguish. Ati ya kwamba mchungaji akiondoka watoto wako na wasiwasi kama atarudi. As to what happened to Reverend Dumia. Msitaki nipitishe kutoka hapo, nitaongea kesho. But I want to assure our church, hili kanisa letu ni kanisa la Mungu, ni kanisa la nguvu, na hatutakubali tuhangaishwe. Hatutakubali. Tunaomba hili kanisa letu lipewe heshima. Hii maneno ya kuvamia kanisa letu la PCA, kuua wachungaji wetu, kunyakua mali ya kanisa ni mambo ambayo hatuwezi kubali. Na lazima tutasimama kidete.
Moving on to a different story, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has called on supporters of President William Ruto across the country to register as voters in large numbers, saying it is key to ensuring a resounding victory for the head of state in the next general election. Speaking during a prayer service and fundraiser for St. Peter's Cathedral in Kapsabet, Nandi County, Mudavadi said he wants President Ruto to win by a wide margin that would deter any legal challenges to the outcome of the poll. He noted that since the introduction of multi-party democracy, most presidential elections have been contested in court except the 2002 victory of the late President Mzee Mwai Kibaki.
Kwa registration iliyopita na nilisikia kidogo kwa sababu mimi ni kama ama nimesikia vile Murkomen amezungumza na wengine. Kusema ukweli, Nandi only registered in the last round 52.6 thousand people. That is not good. Wale ambao wana identity cards katika county hii na kwengine, if you are listening to me about the size of the victory, we cannot afford to have that kind of registration. The next round is coming. Nataka niwasihi tujitokeze, we urge each other, hata sisi kule tutasukuma zaidi. We want proper registration, we want massive registration, we want the proper victory. Don't take peace for granted. Don't take peace for granted. Mimi nataka niwaambie kwamba mara kwa mara tunasema thamana ya airport, thamana ya barabara, thamana ya rural electrification. Alafu tunasahau kuzungumzia thamana ya amani na usalama katika taifa letu na ulimwenguni. Sasa wewe tafakari yale mataifa ambayo wengi wanajua, hawa viongozi wengi wamepitia kule Middle East, wana airport za kifahari, wana mabarabara za kifahari. Lakini mimi nataka niwaambie, vita vimetokea kule, sasa hizo airport unapata ziko empty, hakuna abiria.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has called on former President Uhuru Kenyatta to embrace statesmanship and support national unity, warning that continued criticism of the current administration could damage his legacy. Speaking at his home in Bungoma while hosting a delegation of more than 1,000 residents from Webuye East constituency, Wetangula said retired presidents are expected to promote stability rather than engage in political confrontations. The delegation included elders, youth, women leaders and other community stakeholders. The speaker expressed disappointment that Uhuru was, in his view, aligning with leaders he described as disgruntled, saying such actions distract President William Ruto from delivering his development agenda.
Nyinyi mnajua kwa miaka 10 huyu rais wetu mstaafu mwenye anazungumza maneno mengi sasa, na mimi nimemshauri na nazidi kumshauri ndugu yangu Uhuru Kenyatta, kwa sababu yeye alinipata mimi bunge, tumefanya kazi na yeye, tulikuwa kwa cabinet ya Kibaki na yeye. Wewe ndugu yangu Rais Uhuru, vile ulifanya kazi bila kusumbuliwa na mzee Kibaki na mzee Moi, usimsumbue Rais Ruto. Umestaafu, wewe kuwa mtu wa kushauri, sio wa kunungunika. kuwa mtu wa kushauri, mtu ya kusaidia nchi. Because when a country goes astray, we count on our senior leaders, including you, Uhuru Kenyatta, as a retired president, to call the country to order. How will you call the country to order if you are visibly biased, permanently complaining, calling people names, and saying things that are not understandable by any reasonable person? Hizi ndizo vitu tunakuambia kwa heshima. You are our president. We give you the respect of a retired president. And respect begets respect. Jiheshimu, uheshimiwe.
Health authorities have heightened surveillance and preparedness measures following the detection of a rare undervirus strain, the Andes virus, which has been linked to an outbreak on a cruise ship in the Atlantic Ocean. Although no cases have been reported in the country, health officials say monitoring has been intensified at all airports and seaports as a precautionary measure against possible importation of the disease. Speaking during a mass service at Siakago Catholic Church, Principal Secretary for Public Health and Professional Standards, Mary Muthoni Muriuki, said Kenya is focusing on long-term prevention rather than reactive responses to disease outbreaks.
Tumepeana advisory kutoka Ministry of Health na tukasema iko virus imepatikana kule countries zingine, na hiyo virus hantavirus bado hatujaipata hapa Kenya. Lakini si unajua magonjwa haina boundaries, kwa sababu juzi nimetoka Congo. Naweza kuwa nimekuja na mpox, naweza kuwa nimeshika virus kutoka mahali nyingine na watu wengine, because human beings are mobile. So sisi tumepeana advisory jana, tumesema tujikinge kwa hii magonjwa inatoka nje pia. Tumesema maintain high standards of personal and environmental hygiene. Tumesema kama ni panya ako kwako, make sure huyo panya umemuondoa. Sababu saa zingine ile mkojo ya ile panya inaweza ikakojolea hata chakula usiku. Alafu asubuhi umechotea watoto ile chakula, amebeba kupeleka nini? Shule. Alafu anarudi ako na ugonjwa na labda haujui. Tumesema pia storage ya chakula. You store the food properly. Usiweke imefunuliwa ama saa zingine imekaa mchana mzima, alafu hiyo chakula ndio bado utapea watoto. Hiyo chakula inaweza ikakuwa imeganda, alafu pia ikute mtoto amegonjeka, pia we mwenyewe. Na mambo ya kunawa mkono, tuendelee kuanganie kuzingatia kunawa mkono, na kama umepatikana uko mgonjwa, tafadhali nenda hospitali.
Drug and substance abuse continues to pose a major challenge among young people in Kenya, with the government officials now calling for a collective effort from state institutions, parents and stakeholders to curb the menace and safeguard the future generation. Speaking during the ceremony marking the installation of the Deputy Chief of Kachonge Village in Kabuchai constituency, Chief Administrative Secretary Bifali Opkora urged public officials to take responsibility and ensure the effective fight against drug abuse at the community level.
Sisi zote tunajua jinsi vile dawa ya kulevya na pombe haramu imedhuru watoto wetu, na watoto wetu ndio tunategemea siku zijazo wawe hao ndio wanaendesha gurudumu ya nchi yetu ya Kenya. Chief, upigane na pombe na mihadarati katika eneo yako, na hiyo hufanyi kama Fred wa Bomba Umsakali. Hiyo unafanya kama mwakilishi wa serikali kuu, na utasaidiwa na hawa maafisa wa serikali kuu, na hiyo iko chini ya sheria.
In case you're joining us now, this is EBN TV, Morning Live with me, Jeffrey Kimayo Somba. And up to this time, we want to thank you for watching the first segment, which is the news updates. We're taking a very short break. We're coming back with the newspaper review. Please stick around.
You are watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
A very good morning to you once again. This is EBN TV Morning Live with me, Jeff, and we have the Standard newspaper, the Kenya's Board newspaper, and the Daily Nation. Now, this morning we're starting with the Kenya's Board newspaper, and we're looking at a fuel trap. Now, it's all about the fuel levy trap, where it's all about a debt burden. The Treasury is set to saddle the country with billions in hidden debt through the road maintenance levy. The government plans to securitize an additional 5 shillings of the 25 shillings per litre levy to raise 120 billion, adding to 175 billion already borrowed to pay contractors. Critics call it debt by another name, warning that road agencies and counties will be left with less for repairs while public debt climbs. Kenyans may not see higher fuel prices yet, but motorists and taxpayers could ultimately bear the cost as hidden borrowing increases and the budget comes under more pressure. More of this story from page 6, but before we get there are some numbers and figures that I'll need to lay bare to you. Now we've got 5 shillings, and this is the new securitization that brings the total to 12 shillings. Then we're looking at 119 billion is the amount Kenya collected from the fuel levy in 1 year. Then this amount is collected, then we are looking at the state of our roads now, and this money is already in our country. Now we're looking at 120 billion shillings government target using fuel levy cash. Then we're looking at 256 billion funding gap the road sector faces. Then 68.2% projected debt to GDP ratio. Then we're looking at 25 shillings is the levy motorists pay on every litre of petrol and diesel. And more stories from page 6, as I had promised to let us know more of it. Now, Ruto raids fuel levy for additional 5 shillings as collateral for 120 billion loan. We are joking in this country. All right, we are still at the fuel, at the pumps, but we are still looking at the increase or at the increment that we are looking at, or the hike in fuel prices as far as diesel and petrol is concerned. Now it has been lower than what we see, and we are looking at an increment of 5 shillings only to cushion a loan of around 120 billion. Now, Kenyans face higher cost as government turns a fuel levy into a multi-billion shilling borrowing scheme. Now, securitization sparks a debate as critics warn the levy is just another form of mounting public debt. Yeah, it may be true, and we can see Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir on Saturday, 10th January 2025, inspected ongoing construction works on the Rironi-Mau Summit Highway, and I think when it comes to prices on the pump, I think this is something that we won't expect it being done or even implemented, because we've been looking at the levy that that has been taxed or put on every liter of petrol or diesel, and this is made to make our roads look better. But when you look at the state or the situation of our roads just across this country, actually 60-70% there, the roads are impassable, and mostly when it comes to rainy season, the situation does not look very good. When you look at, or when you try to think back and look at the issue of us paying 5 shillings per every liter as levy. And when you go to most of our roads, when they are under construction, you find a label there, your fuel tax is working, and most of the times we don't see it working as we expect. Now, that's a story you need to read more from page 2 of the Standard newspaper. Then it's gold or death. Poverty pushes West Pokot miners into killer pits. Then to outsiders, the decision to continue mining may appear reckless, but for the residents, lack of alternative source of income leave them with little choice. Then barely 4 days after a deadly rock collapse and killed 15 artisanal miners at Romos area in West Pokot County, mining pits are once again crowded with hundreds of desperate locals searching for gold. And you can see pictured women are among the most affected by the harsh realities of artisanal mining. Then livestock keeping is no longer reliable because of drought and poverty. People have no option but to search for gold. And this is from West Pokot. And moving quickly to Nakuru County, 2 arrested more sought as police pursue the killers of Nakuru past. And this is a story, or this is an occasion or an happening that took place over last year of the killing of a clergy in Nakuru. Read the story more from page 2 of the Standard newspaper. Then the same page, in Machakos County, youth women urged to invest in SACCOs. Then Kenya's youth have been urged to join savings and credit cooperatives, and these are SACCOs to boost their livelihood through investment. And there is a SACCO that is called Moko SACCO. Chief Executive Officer Josephine Kanyambu said this was an alternative to the joblessness in the country. Then if you're interested, read the story. Then page 3, we are looking at mothers, the quiet ants that hold the world. Then behind every strong Kenyan, there is a mother who never stopped believing. Then quiet prayer, steady ants, endless courage. Kenya rises on the wisdom of its women. Then the mother still appears at school meetings under the onsen. She still apologizes where necessary. She still kneels in prayer long after others have stopped believing. Then we're looking pictured Kawangware women dribbles the ball as she participates in a football tournament during the Mother's Day Women Peace Cup in Nairobi on May. And this is on Saturday. Then moving to page 4, event to shape the future of skills and employability. And that story from page 4. Then terror risk at Somalia border reopening looms. A new report shows border counties remain highly vulnerable to terror attacks. Then Mandera, Garissa, Lamu, and Wajir recorded dozens of incidents linked to Al-Shabaab's militants in 2025. Then we will deploy adequate security to ensure criminals do not infiltrate while allowing traders to operate freely. Leave the insurgents to us, we will deal with them. And this is a promise from our very own President William Ruto. Then Kenya's health sector, and this is all about aid. Kenya's health sector to receive 33.9 billion funding from the U.S. this year. Now, the United States has pledged continued support for Kenya's health system despite concerns over declining foreign aid. The U.S. Embassy in Nairobi said it has spent about $290 million. This is equivalent to 33.9 billion this year on health programs in Kenya. Acting Ambassador Susan Barnes said sustained investment and collaboration are key to strengthening health security. And that's from page 4. Then page 5 of the Standard. France Africa talks challenged on imperialism. Now the Africa France summit in Nairobi faces backlash from civil society groups who accuse it of neo-colonialism. Now this has prompted a parallel counter-summit rejecting perceived imperial influence at the development frameworks. And you can see, and you know very well that France president is in Kenya, and there is a summit that will be held today and tomorrow. Now, President William Ruto receives his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron at State House, Nairobi. President Macron is in Kenya for Africa Forward Summit, and is in Kenya for that summit that will be taking place today and tomorrow. What is he carrying for Kenya, and what is carrying? Is it so helpful for the people of this country? We'll be waiting to know, and we'll be here to let you know what this takes or what is bringing for our country. Now then, the high-profile Africa Summit or Africa France Summit set to take place in Nairobi on Monday and Tuesday has come under heavy criticism, with civil society organizations describing it as a re-engineering of imperialism. A section of civil society and Pan-African lobby groups have organized a parallel counter summit in Nairobi, opposing what they term France's attempt to repackage neocolonialism or neo-colonial influence under the guise of economic cooperation and development partnerships. And we're looking at a tragedy, and there's a different story where Race Against Time to Rescue fought trapped in collapsed building, and this is a building that collapsed here in our country. Now, search and rescue operations are ongoing for 4 people who are trapped in 8-story building that collapsed in Ololua, Kajiado County, and that was on Friday. So we did a report sometimes about the construction of this country, and one of the steps that NCA need to take, they need to know whether the place is good for any construction or for maybe commercial or residential construction before that is done. But you find building like this one going for up to 8 stories is built and is already occupied, and the right measures or the very best of measures that need to have been taken before the construction is done was not done. So NCA need to be very careful and very observant, very strict when this comes into place, so that we don't have a lot of lives being lost and this or in these buildings. Now, page 6, Ruto rates fuel. That's a story I did. Then page 7, Senate sounds alarm over fuel price hikes and consumer abuse. And we can see motorists queue for fuel at Nairobi's petrol station on Koinange Street in Nairobi. Then senators warned that Kenyans may be bearing the burden of weak regulatory enforcement. They demanded an explanation over the measures undertaken to track unregulated price increases, with a story from page 7. Then from page 8, senators face scrutiny as quorum issues disrupt House proceedings. Then Senate oversight is being weakened by chronic absenteeism from both senators and cabinet secretaries. This has led to repeated adjournments, stalled question time sessions, and growing legislative and accountability crisis. Then we're looking at 2022 general election reforms. So the Senate revised its standing orders to introduce Wednesday morning sittings for ministerial question time, but the intended gains have not been fully realized. Now, from the story to another story in Kisumu, Ruto makes case for education reforms amid growing criticism. Then from page 8, it is night campaigns in, this is page 9, it is night campaigns in Emurua Dikir as women take leading role. The Emurua Dikir by-election has evolved into more than a local parliamentary contest. It is seen as a symbolic political duel between President Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua. We can look at something pictured where a campaign rally in Emurua Dikir constituency. Then we're looking at a search for votes where 3:30 a.m. time most campaign rallies are ending in Emurua Dikir as candidates allied to UDA DCP parties work to get elected in parliamentary by-elections. And there's a story check from page 9. Then club owners warn artists over last-minute cancellations. That's all about business. Then why the world is finally paying attention to rangelands and others. The GLF Africa Conference rallied governments, experts and communities to elevate rangelands and pastoralists. It stressed their importance in climate adaptation, ecosystem services and indigenous livelihoods. And we can look at environment, climate change and forestry cabinet secretary Deborah Barasa. Then we're looking at 50%, which is the land coverage of the Earth's land surface is covered by rangelands, supporting the livelihoods of about 2 billion people, including 500 million pastoralists. Then we're looking at a crime where convictions rise, but gender violence continues to surge in slums. Then page 11, it's all about business and opinion on the Standard newspaper. We're looking at before we go to the opinion, a story about Martha Karua, is a PLP leader. As we honor our mothers today, let us also commit to caring for Kenya, our motherland, with that same spirit. That's a message as far as Mother's Day is concerned. That was 10th May 2026, which was yesterday. And on the caricature, we're looking at someone, we're looking at Venezuela, we're looking at Iran, we're looking at Ukraine, and we're looking at two very key leaders on the caricature. And power is rising, and someone from the other end, and this is Ukraine, is saying that very endearing. Then from the other side, now I know why you started the fire. On the caricature, you can read that story from page 12. Then on a deal with doctors to avert crippling strike, and this is from editorial. Then a direct impact where how Middle East conflict is reshaping Kenya's economy. You can read that story more from page 12. Then a mixture of stories all about opinion, and other stories about insight, and other stories on the same, which is page 13. It's all about your opinion. Page 14, indigenous knowledge is next frontier of Kenya's development. Think of any traditional practice in your community. Could it be documented and monetized? The 2026 estimate places Kenya's indigenous knowledge economy at 230 million. Then we're looking at a bit of health, where our access to right inhaler can greatly change life for asthma patients. I think that's a great story or good news for asthma patients. And also from page 15, we're looking at a mixture of stories all about this is the Reader's Corner from the Standard newspaper. We're looking at what's on X, we're looking at what is on law, we're looking at what is on democracy, health, education, and also from the web. Read that from page 15. Then the final story on the Standard newspaper. The Kalenjin Code, can the world ever steal Kenya's running secret? And we can see a pictured long distance runner John Karit celebrate after finishing in first place in the men's division at the 130th Boston Marathon on April 20th in Massachusetts. Now, someone is saying that let's appreciate that while the rest of the world manufactures car software, B2 diplomacy, and the occasional political scandal, Kenya manufactures runners fresh, fast, and frighteningly abundant. So it's all about the gift that we have in Kenya, and this is mostly in Rift Valley region. So read the story from page 16, and if you need any story from the Standard newspaper, kindly grab a copy of the same. Then moving very quickly to the Daily Nation, we're looking at numbers, and this is all about the promised salary tax reliefs missing from the finance bill. This was promised and it's not indicated in the finance bill. This is so strange. Now, the government has reduced tax on ethanol from 500 per litre to 88 per litre. Then excess duty, which is 25% coming up on mobile phones, increased from 10% to 25%. Then we're looking at 22.50. Exit duty of 22.50 per centiliter of pure alcohol, then 5% tax on mitumba shoes and clothes. Then we're looking at 50%. These are rise. We are taxing imported vintage classic vehicles at the rate of 50% of the factory. What will be the effect of these high taxes to the economy of this country? Then rate of rental income tax overall raised from 7.5% to 10%. Then we can look at a surge where we look at 16% locally assembled and manufactured mobile phones now subject to 16% VAT. Now, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Buddy had pledged some reliefs, including raising the tax-free salary band to 30,000 up from the current 24,000, but these are missing from the Finance Bill 2026, which proposes higher taxes to raise an additional 120 billion. Then this is from page 19. Then we're looking Tanga or Mombasa. And this is a story that has been running over last week. Our president was in Tanzania over last week. They had a summit there with the president of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu. Now, Tanga or Mombasa, Dangote adds a fresh twist to oil refinery. The Nigerian billionaire Aliko Dangote is looking at Kenya as the site of a 650 barrel a day oil refinery. This is an announcement coming days after Tanga in Tanzania was also touted as the location for the project he plans to build in East Africa. Then under virus, Kenya to screen travelers from 23 countries. The Ministry of Health has alerted authorities at all border points and airports to screen travelers from 23 countries whose nationals were among the 147 tourists on board the under-virus stricken cruise ship anchored near Tenerife, Canary Islands. And this is from page 7. Then it's all about history, where Nairobi welcomes over 50 nations and the global talks, the first to be held in Anglophone Africa. Then we are looking at the show of might, where diplomatic coup Kenya today shines on the world stage, hosting world leaders, including heads of states, the UN Secretary General and business executives for the France-Africa Summit gathering that highlights the convening power of France President Emmanuel Macron and his host William Ruto. The forum is expected to reset the continent's ties with the former colonial power and advance new economic as well as political interests. We are joking. Okay, President William Ruto receives his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron at State House, Nairobi yesterday. And we can see them pictured. Then there is a story that we were to start with, and there's a story about, but we can start with page 3, 2, and 4, where we're looking at dark pasts. Maybe we are trying to reignite all of this. Remember, if you know the history of France and Kenya, I think you need, in a way, get to be worried a bit, because France has often faced criticism of its role in the governance problems that affected some African. Then we're looking at a dark past and the show of might as Kenya hosts the France Africa Summit, and you can see pictured there. You need to see some of the leaders that will be coming in as far as the summit is concerned, and you can see them pictured. So if you need to go get that story, get it from page 2. Then page 3, French business leaders say they want to learn Africa markets. And why is it that Africa is not learning French markets? This is so worrying. Then we're looking at 32 heads of state and government expected to attend the France Africa Summit in Nairobi. And I said this is a summit that is taking place today and tomorrow. Then page 4, we are looking at some recommendations where groups have come up with 60 proposals the op will inform policies in Africa. Governments, then civil society groups to present wish list at a summit, and this is a summit that will be taking place. Then from page 5, We're looking at investment where Dangote says refinery would cost 2.4 trillion to 2.72 trillion. Then Africa's richest man eyes Kenya for new refinery. That is from page 5. Then count freeze as Embakasi ranching land case. And yes, then page 6. Swiss farm sued for using harmful fuel markers in Kenya. That's a story from, and we're looking at companies looking at a controversy where a company was awarded the fuel marking contract following the intervention of a former PS. That's a story from page 6 and 7 of it. The Daily Nation cloud of tension where residents have been left grieving and worried about possible repeat attacks by perpetrators. Then anatomy of a massacre house gang executed Kitui killings. Then we are looking at the aerial view of the Kwakamari area of Kitui County where bandits attacked and killed 7 people on May 4th. This is just this month. Then below, it's a time we did not let any intel go unutilized. We knew that they would come, but we did not know when. We are recruiting extra national police reservists for Seikuru. Then another story under Fira's fears, return of COVID-era screening as Kenya focuses on travelers. All right, then page 8, we're looking at an organization where materials arrived in good time and tallying was conducted in good time despite manual voting. And we're looking at DCPs. DCPs might onshore during nominations. Then 32.6% is voter turnout during DP's nomination in Olkalau compared to UDA's 111.3%. That's a story you need to read from page 8, then business from page 9, then to final gavel for departed judge who humanized courtrooms. Then a judge delivers a decision in court in closing of file proceedings. Judges and advocates honored the late Justice Frederick Ochieng. Then Fish for Family needs a day to honor her mother's strength and sacrifice, and things all about Mother's Day. From page 11 is business. Then page 12, end nominations to county assemblies and parliament. And another story, cooperation is Africa's path to lasting peace. That is from page 12. Then summit a chance to boost Africa-France cooperation. Then Cabra's race rugby ban. Then we're looking at the opinion where party nomination fitting room. All right, and we're looking at independent candidates. We're looking at DCP party, and there is a room there. They are calling it party nomination fitting room. There is a message in it. Then education shouldn't be a lottery, and that is from page 13. Then the last story, and it's all about some letters and different letters here. So you need to read that. You can see pictured our founder or the first president of this country, and we're looking at today in history. And in May 11th, 1965, President Jomo Kenyatta, who is at the center, until the opening session of the East African Central Legislative Assembly in Nairobi, the East African Common Service Organization, this is EASCO, has agreed to request the President of Zambia to proceed with the building of the Zambia section of the proposed Zambia East Africa Rail Link. The Assembly nominated Tanzania with the help of EASCO to negotiate for the finances to build the East Africa section. On Kenyatta's right is the Speaker of the Assembly, Sir Amar Armaeni. And this is today in history, and we're looking at the first president there, and I think that is where we're ending at as far as the newspaper review. What's coming up next is a discussion on Kenya at crossroads. We're looking at politics, we're looking at pressure, and we're looking at the people of this country. Thank you for watching so far the second segment of EBN Morning Live on EBN TV. Thank you for watching. May God bless you. We're coming up with the discussion. Stick around.
TV, transforming your world.
Many great people began life in their poorest, humble state of homes. But these people performed and they did wonders. You are one of them. Child of God, you are one of them because Jesus Christ is in your life. Just give your life to Him and He start working in you.
EBN TV cares about the growth of your business. To advertise with us,